welcome back, everyone. If you're just watching this on a replay, welcome to the video. If you're watching this live, welcome back. We're celebrating Pride here on Adobe Live with a special set of challenges for you. Hi, my name's Andrew Hochradel. I am your host and guide this week as we go through Pride history. We're learning a little bit of where Pride has come from and then maybe how queer artists have helped to influence us, which is what we're talking about today. We are hopping in and talking about one of my favorite artists, one of the queer icons, and that is none other than Mr. Andy Warhol. That's right. So we're hopping in and talking about Andy Warhol, and we are going to be working in the Warhol style. So I want to tell you a little bit about Andy Warhol first. He's the founder of something called The Factory. And The Factory is a collective of artists, and it was described as this: a safe space in which everyone and everything is queer. So he openly expressed his queer identity through his art, through his life, even though it was illegal at the time in the United States. So you may know Andy Warhol from his work like this. He is very much known for pop art, which is what we'll be creating today. This is of, I believe, Marilyn Monroe. So this is the pop art style. I'm going to show you how to do this in a couple different ways. We'll be working in Photoshop and Illustrator today, as well as maybe Adobe Capture. We'll see what happens. But he is very famous for this, as well as the soup cans, the Campbell's soup cans. He is a pioneer and really started this idea of pop art. So this is pop art of a portrait of Marilyn Monroe, and this is pop art of the top part of a Pop-Tart. One of my favorite phrases: pop art of the top part of a Pop-Tart. So we are going to be working in this style. And right here, this is just a quote to inspire us from Andy Warhol as we get started. Don't think about making art, just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or they hate it. While they are deciding, make even more art. And that's what we do here on Adobe Live. We make art, we put positivity out into the world and just create really cool stuff. So if you want to, you can design along with me by going down in the description and clicking on that source file link. You can download the file that looks just like this. There's not a lot on here because you are going to be providing the source file today, and that is your face. Yes, you'll be providing your face to me today to use in our piece that we're creating. So what I'm going to do with this created here, I'm just going to grab my phone real quick, and you're going to see a little bit behind the camera. We're going to go here. Secrets. It's not a real bedroom. Sorry. I'm going to put this down real quick so that I can take a picture of myself, and I'm just going to send that picture to myself. Now, what I might do is I think I might use Adobe Capture here. So I'm going to go to Capture on my phone. And if you've never used Adobe Capture, I'm just going to hold it up to the screen. It's a great resource to be able to capture colors, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to click on Create there, and we are just going to create, you know what? Yeah, I'm not sure that I want to use Capture, but what I can do is I can actually just look for audio. I can look for materials, type, all that stuff. I'm just going to take a picture. It's probably easier. So everybody get your phones out and snap a selfie. Here we go. This is the best challenge ever. All right, we're snapping a selfie here. Let me get I need to move my chair. Oh no. All right, there we go. All right, here we are. All right, I got my selfie. I am going to send that to myself. So everybody capture your selfies, send it to yourself, and then we are going to use that as our source for the challenge today. We'll be working in Photoshop as well as Illustrator with this photo to make sure that we can create a pop art style portrait. All right, here I go back into a cool looking bedroom. Oh my gosh, what if I lived there? All right. Secrets. So I'm just going to grab that image that I sent to myself. You could drop it into a library if you like. I just copied and pasted it here. And all right, we are going to drag this into Illustrator. Come on. Copy image, and we are going to paste it into Illustrator. There we go. There's my face. So what we're going to do is a couple different things. We could just use Illustrator here to kind of grab our inspiration. So let's look at what we're inspired by, and that is this portrait of Marilyn Monroe. So you can see here, there's a couple things going on. There are some color blocks, but then there's also this kind of dark area going on. And what this is there is a threshold on top of everything that is very dark, and then we are adding color underneath that. I turn on some music for us so that we can have some good vibes. So let's go ahead and let's just use the defaults in Illustrator and see what happens. So we're going to use the image trace or vectorize up here. And what I want to do is I am going to go to default, and we'll just start there since we all have a default. And that's not looking bad. That's actually not bad for what we want to do. So we've created the default right here, and in the default, we can actually change these settings by clicking right there on these settings. Now, when you want to grab this kind of pop art style, moving the threshold to the right is going to make everything darker, and moving it to the left is going to make it lighter. So I want enough to where we have some detail of my face, but not too much to where it's going to take over. So right there, somewhere in the middle, let's maybe try 115. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's do 120. 120 looks pretty good. All right, so we've got enough of my face looking good there, and then we can go to advanced, and let's go ahead and increase the amount of paths. So I'm gonna take this up really high, and it's just gonna grab a little bit more detail. If depending on your computer, I'm gonna set this to 99, and that's a lot of detail. The corners, I want to set at 0. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna make it so that every little corner detail is looking good. If we do more, it's actually gonna make it a lot more jagged. So we're gonna take the corners all the way down. And then noise is how much like detail you wanna get. So I'm gonna set this to 2. And that's gonna get, there we go, a lot of detail in there. So I do want to ignore white, and what that's going to do is it's going to take all the white out and give us a little bit more of a clean look on our portrait. So this looks good. I'm going to hit expand right here, and it's going to expand this into shapes. So there we go. I have my portrait. It's looking good. Let's go ahead and start adding in some of those elements. So I'm going to grab the pop art here and just bring it over, so we can kind of have a comparison. Now, the most comparable right now is going to be maybe this bottom right version, right? So we have the dark areas, which are our blacks, the eyebrows, the eyes, that kind of stuff. And now we want to kind of paint in the different pieces of color. So what we can do is we can come in here and we can actually just use the pen tool. We could use the brush tool as well if we wanted, but we're just gonna create some basic shapes. So I'm gonna grab the pen tool and I'm just going to start creating shapes. Now the problem is, as I create these shapes, it's going over my portrait. We don't want that. We want to be able to see very well. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm actually going to make a new layer over here in the layers panel. We're going to click on new right there, and then drag this layer underneath. So we're going to name these. This will be darks, and then this will be color. And now we want to make sure that the color layer is selected, which is what we want to work on. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to grab a color, and then grab that pen tool. And what's nice about this is all our edges will be hidden by the black that's overlaying. So we can use the pen tool and kind of just click in here and really guess at where things are going, right? Really make it loosey-goosey. And the cool thing about the pop art style is it doesn't have to be precise. And you can see as I'm clicking around here, it really is just creating these shapes and filling in for us. Now, I am going to try to follow my headline right there a little bit and bring this up over there. So it looks pretty good, but what I want to do is make sure that I can round these out, right? These little edges that are right here aren't looking great. And even though his portrait sometimes would go over the edge, right, a little more extended, I want to make sure that it at least looks smooth. So I'm going to select this shape and then hit A, which is the direct selection tool, and grab one of these little nodes and just pull it in. And that's going to round out those edges for me a little bit. Let's round them just a little bit more. I can select just those two and just click and drag to really round those out. So that's looking pretty good to me. Next up, we want to add in some of these colors, right? Let's maybe do the lips. And I think the lips, I have a mustache, but we're going to make this a blue mustache. So what I can do is, again, just come in here and really kind of sloppy click around into these shapes. As long as we're working on that color layer, you can kind of outline and make sure that you try to maybe overshoot a little bit so you get some cool edges on there. and then come all the way around, and we're going to change that color to a bright blue. Actually, let's do red. Let's do a classic red lip. So that's looking pretty good, looking kind of fun. I do want to maybe capture my neck a little bit here with that color as well. So let's create a space. Again, we're just using the pen tool there to kind of move things around. Then we're going to put on some eyeshadow. Got to get some shadow on. This is maybe where we go blue. And for this, I might actually use the brush tool. So the brush tool is just B, very, very quick and easy way to add in some spice. And we're going to click and drag this up over my eye, give it a nice little kind of shape there. Whoa, what happened there? Brush touch, did I not? Oh, it is there. It's there, I just made it the wrong color. There we go, the shape does exist. So we are going to fill this shape with a nice blue. All right, and that's looking pretty good to me. You can go in with the direct selection tool and start to kind of move things around to make sure that you have the right area. And if it's not a closed path, you can simply hit Control or Command J to join it together into a closed path, or go to Object, Path, and Join. And that's gonna join it so that it is a closed path. I'm gonna round out this corner just a little bit. And then we can actually use this eye to mirror onto the other side. So with this selected, we are going to go to Transform and Reflect, and it will reflect that to the other side. So we hit OK. And then we can kind of bring this over to that other eye. What happened? Transform, reflect, sorry, not OK. You want to hit Copy. And copy is going to make a copy of that shape for you to pull over to the other side. So that's looking pretty good. And let's see, what other elements? The hair. So the hair and the eyes are the other elements that are kind of pulled out into a different color. So let's go ahead and play around with doing some hair and then doing some eyes. So the hair, we definitely want to try to overshoot those shapes. So I'm gonna come a little bit off of the hairline and a little bit around this edge. So again, you wanna be kind of sloppy when you're working in this style. It's gonna really create a fun look. And I'm gonna get this hair continuing through there, through those glasses, just to add a little bit more contrast. And from there, we're actually gonna create a bunch of different variations, just like Andy Warhol does with his variations as well. Let's grab this and pull it all the way down so that we get the hair kind of coming around that side. All right, and let's go ahead and select that blue and just make it a nice yellow. All right, so we're getting some vibes. We're getting some similar vibes. It's looking okay, but maybe let's do some variations on this. I'm going to crop this in a bit by just using a square. And from there, I'm gonna make sure that square is actually on top of our dark colors. I'm gonna do it just around my face. And then I'm going to select everything underneath using the selection tool and make a clipping mask. So we're clipped in and now we have our face. It's looking good. And let's put a shape behind that that is kind of this hot pink color. All right, so we've got our pop art portrait looking good here. Now let's create some variations of this on color. Very easy, very quick to do. What we can do is we can actually just make a copy of this by hitting Option or Alt and holding Shift to drag it over. That'll make a copy of it. And then we can change up these colors. So let's go to Edit, Edit Colors, Recolor Artwork. From here, we are going to go to Advanced Options. And in the advanced options, we can actually reassign these colors, right? So you can click and drag them around. Maybe we just want to change the order. All you need to do is click and drag that yellow into a different space and it will automatically switch them. So there we go. We've moved these all around and maybe we want the red to go where the yellow is. That looks pretty crazy. Why not? Let's do... That could be fun. So you can play around and simply drag those around to make a variation. Now, what else is fun if we don't want to necessarily do that on a bunch of different pieces? What we can do is we can actually, and I think this works, let's double check because it might not work this way, but I'll show you how the tool works. Is we can have both of those selected, go to Recolor Artwork, Advanced Options, and from here, all you need to do is click on Randomly Change Color Order, and it is going to use them together. I didn't think that it would, but it did. So what we're gonna do is just edit colors, recolor artwork. and click on this leftmost right here, and it will shuffle those colors for you so that they become random colors, and you can create a set of pop art portraits. So there we go. We've created some pop art portraits in the Andy Warhol style, but I do want to show you how to do this in Photoshop as well. Again, we're jumping around in programs, and if you want to follow us, you can go to behance.net/challenge/design for all of our Pride challenges, and you can find the source file for this one in the pop art portraits right there. But we are going to hop over into Adobe Photoshop as well. So I'm just going to drag in our image that I had here. Hold on. Where did I have that image? I had it over in Slack. There it is. So we're going to drop it in here. And if you have an image copied, all right, I need to save it. 1 second, everybody. Let me save this real quick. Download. There we go. All right, let's open this in Photoshop. I'm just going to drag it over. There we go. There we go. All right, so we have this in Photoshop now, and just like we did in Illustrator where we used the vectorized or we used the image trace, we can actually come in here and we are going to be using thresholds. Thresholds are a little bit different, but what we can do is we can click right here on the adjustment layer, and we are going to turn on the threshold right there. And threshold is going to give us that same kind of vibe that we had in the auto trace or the vectorize, but it's going to be very black and white. So we can adjust this threshold using the slider right here. You can see as we go right, it gets darker. As we go left, it goes lighter. And what we may want to do is do something like this. So bring it so that just the darkest areas are showing on here, right? So just the darkest areas are showing on that one. And that looks pretty good to me. And we can kind of start to stack some effects. So this is only the darkest, and that looks great. So I'm gonna hold Alt or Option. You can see my cursor change to that little arrow going down. That means it's going to link it to that image. So now that is linked to the image. What I wanna do is make a copy using Control J, and we're gonna pull it up to the top, and now we have another copy. We are going to use the threshold one more time and get a little bit darker. So we were about here last time. So let's get a little bit darker, which is about here. So from here, we can go ahead and add some color to this by going to a gradient map. So we're stacking effects here. We're going to go to our little adjustment layer and type and hit gradient map. From there, we can edit the gradient map by clicking, and we can change this black to maybe that bright red that we wanted, right? Ooh, that looks cool. Actually, let's do pink just because pop art feels pink. So we're doing hot pink. Looks good. So we'll hit OK. And now we want to make sure that we are locking these layers to this image. Again, we want to make sure that you lock it to the image. Looking good. And yes, using Adobe Capture is also an option for this. Someone in our live chat has asked. So what we want to do here on this one is simply grab all of this layer. We're going to group it, and then we're going to grab this layer down here and group that as well. And at the top, we are going to change this blend mode to multiply. And there you can see that the color is multiplying down onto the black, which makes it a little bit darker. If we wanted to, we could also change it so that the background was a color. So maybe we want the background to be this kind of bright yellow that we saw. We can simply grab the paint bucket tool, which is G, and fill the background with yellow. Now it's not going to show because we need this layer set to multiply as well. So there we go. We've got it multiplying down twice with those colors. And now we can add one more and duplicate this layer one more time by just hitting Control J. And now we can go in and augment these. So maybe we want the threshold to be a little bit darker on this top one. There we go. Let's fill in the rest kind of like that. That looks pretty good to me. And the gradient map, this one we're going to make pink. So you just select the gradient map and we can change it. And maybe we want it to go into a green. Ooh, that's cool. We'll hit OK there. We'll hit OK and then make sure that this is changed to multiply. So we may want to scroll through and see what blending modes are going to look the best with that green. Ooh, let's do hard mix. So hard mix is a really cool effect and it kind of creates this cool pop art portrait. Now, something else that we can do here is with our image selected, we can use the power of Adobe Sensei to take out this background completely. So we're going to go to select, and we're going to do select subject, and watch what happens. It's going to analyze the image for us, and it is going to select me as the subject. You can see it did a really great job at selecting all the way around me. And from there, we can just create a mask. So we're actually going to mask all of these layers together. So everything together selected, Control G to group it, and then we're going to add that mask to mask it out. And now the background, if we want to change it maybe to a different color, maybe we want it to be a blue, we just simply change it to a blue. And all of these are multiplying down, and so it's kind of creating that effect. If we didn't want it to multiply down, what we could do is hold Control and click on that mask that we've made, right? And it's going to select me, and then we maybe want to even mask the background. So we can click on mask, and it will mask the background, but we want the opposite of this. So we can Control I to invert, and now we have the background as one layer right there, masked out, and then we have me as the other layer. And we can come in and change any of these gradient maps if we want them to look like something different. If we want to play around with the thresholds, we'll be able to see what all of those look like. Ooh. So maybe the threshold here, we want it to come down a little bit less green. Ooh, that purple's kind of fun. So you can play around and create your own pop art portraits. And if you want to, you can even come in here and create that effect that is kind of the screen print effect by just creating a new layer and then brushing it on. So if we want maybe those red lips, you can go to red and we can grab the brush tool just using B. And I have a texture brush right now, but that's fine. And I can simply just paint over where I want these lips to be, and then change that blend mode to multiply. Ooh, maybe we change it to color burn. That looks kind of cool. Let's do color burn. So super high contrast, but looking really cool. Maybe we want some yellow up here on the eyes. You can simply brush stuff in, and Photoshop is really great at kind of creating those elements for me. And do you need a mask on the background? You don't, but right now this is all set to multiply, and so it would multiply down and kind of mess up the background. So we do have a mask on the background to allow us to do that. So the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator. Photoshop, you're gonna get this kind of effect. Very pixels, you can work a lot with pixels, get into some good detail. The gradations are probably better in Photoshop to be able to get detail. But if you're working in Illustrator, you can really get that kind of screen printed pop art style that we see here with some of these portraits. So it looks pretty good, and it looks like we've kind of made the perfect mock-up. If we wanted to, what's great about Illustrator and color is we can actually do a capture of color. So we're going to go to Edit, Edit Colors, and we are, ooh, what am I doing here? Edit, hold on, I know where it is. Selected, Edit, Edit Colors, Recolor Artwork, there we go. And we can do the Color Theme Picker. And the Color Theme Picker is going to pick from the image that we click on, right? So you can see it's actually sampling from this image, and we've got those colors pulled over right there. So maybe we want to do it to this one as well. Edit, Edit Colors, Recolor Artwork. And we are going to do our color theme picker and grab it from right down here. And you can use these sliders to grab more or less of certain colors. So I want a lot of green, I want a lot of orange, and not so much of those darker colors in there, right? So a little bit less on the dark. And then you can even ramp up the saturation and the brightness. So we want it to maybe be a little bit brighter. There we go. And we're starting to get some of those colors pulled out of that image. So easily sampled. If you want to join us and share your work, you can do so by joining our Discord. There should be a link down in the description if you're watching on YouTube or on Behance, and in the chat as well. I'd love to see your pop art portraits. Make a pop art portrait, put some eyeshadow, put some lipstick, do something crazy to your face, and honor the legacy of Andy Warhol by creating your own portrait. We'll be back with more Pride challenges. There are a couple more on the way, and as always, it's been my pleasure to hang out with you and teach you something new in Photoshop and Illustrator today. We're just focusing on design in general. So I'll see you again for another Pride challenge. Have a great day. Bye.